A bulk of the work that we do in the Institute at CESMII is done through funded projects. And if you look at our roadmap, a lot of these projects are actually tied back to the pillars of that roadmap. Um, so let's take a look at what those projects are and what differentiates them from each other. We have one particular class of projects that are related to the enabling R&D technologies, and these projects are mostly the ones that deal with large gaps in the technologies for each of the building blocks, whether you talk about sensing or analytics or modeling, for example. They tend to be a slightly longer term project, meaning that they could be 12 to 24 months. And they're typically made up of um, team members that are essentially experts in that particular area, and they help close the technology gap in that area. Typically, these projects are done through an RFP process, which is a request for proposals, where we essentially state the areas of interest, and the teams respond back with proposals for that particular area of interest. And then we go through our selection process and so on. The second class of projects is something called the platform capability projects. So these are projects that are helping build the capabilities of our smart manufacturing platform. And they have the flavor that falls into broad categories like connectivity, contextualization, the platform infrastructure, the application marketplace, and so on. Again, these projects can be either done through a request for proposal process, or they can be more directed spend, meaning that CESMII defines the specific statement of work, and then we go out and get bids for that work. Typically, again, these projects might be anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, perhaps, depending on the subject matter. And again, most likely this would be folks that would be the technology vendor community or the technology partner community that would be working on these types of projects. The third class of projects is all to do with applying CESMII's technologies for real world applications. And these projects would be utilizing CESMII's platform, some of the building block technologies as available and as applicable to create solutions for manufacturing use cases. These are entirely funded by the members, so CESMII does not provide any funding for these projects. Whereas the other two that I described, there's a 50-50 cost share, meaning that CESMII provides half the funding, the members come back with a match in in-kind contributions. So the application projects are about utilizing CESMII's technologies and then applying it to use cases that is of importance to the manufacturer. The fourth class of projects is all around workforce development, and this is where, again, it's done through a combination of an RFP process or a directed fund process. We target areas of interest that are specific to the development of the content for education and workforce development, or the delivery of that content and training. And these projects can be, again, 6 months to 18 months, perhaps. And if it's done through an RFP process, it's that 50-50 cost share model. The final class of projects, and perhaps the most important for CESMII going forward, are known as innovation projects. And what these projects are about is that there are three key themes in here. One is to solve a manufacturing use case. Second is to provide components that would be useful for CESMII to integrate into their smart manufacturing innovation platform. And And thirdly, to make all of those components available in the marketplace so that they can be reused by other members with similar processes or similar applications. And these projects are typically shorter term because we want to prove the value to our members pretty quickly. So they could be 6 months at the most, between 4 to 6 months. They typically involve a manufacturer who defines the problem, and then a team comes together with the manufacturer, with a software vendor, with a systems integrator, with somebody from the academia. They pull them together and then solve that problem. And the funding levels all vary depending on what type of projects you're doing with the institute. Funding may be as little as $50K to as much as $1 million in total. Now, aside from these types of projects, CESMII is also executing on internal projects which are done either by internal teams at CESMII or specific vendors that help us do that kind of work. So there's a whole another class of work that goes on which falls outside of some of the projects that I was describing. So as you can see, we have a lot of work that is executed through these types of projects, and they are certainly a very integral part of how CESMII is going to accomplish its mission.